On this episode, I'm going to show you how to change the rear differential fluid on your EZ-GO TXT. I'm Jeff. Welcome to Kart Crazy. Alright, so a couple things you're going to need for this job. Obviously a drain pan, and SAE 30 is what they recommend in electric carts. I believe gas carts are actually like a gear oil, like a 8590 or 7590 or something like that. So make sure you check for your specific cart. Going to need a little tube of some sort of RTV to seal up the pan once we get it all down and cleaned off. And I like to use a little brake clean just to spray up in there and get any gunk out. But I've got the cart up on jack stands here. To fill it, we're going to need it down on a level surface, but for working on it, I definitely want it up in the air so I can get at it a little easier. We're going to just pull all these bolts out and take this tin pan off of here. That's going to release our fluid, of course. Then we're going to have to clean up all this old RTV or gasket material off of there with a wire brush or some sort of wire wheel. Reapply and then install it back in and then fill it up, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. Alright, you'll notice I've got all off but one. And then the pan is still held there by the RTV. So I'm going to get in here with like a small screwdriver and pop that loose. And I'm going to leave this one kind of semi-tight. That way I can kind of rock that pan down and let that fluid out, rather than just drop the whole thing in my face and make a mess. You can kind of hear the glue separating as I pry on it. Oh, you might be empty here, folks. This rear diff was a little noisy, and if you remember, I bought this cart and it said it was submerged. So I was afraid there was going to be water in here, actually. But well, there's our problem, or part of it. I don't know if you can see that in there. We're supposed to have 10 ounces of fluid. We've got maybe 3. And it smells like gear oil, so I'm assuming somebody put a little thicker oil in there, or didn't know any better maybe. Hopefully we don't have damage to this rear diff. So I've got to take this in the wire wheel and get all this RTV off of here. Try to clean this up a little bit. And then we can reassemble. Well, fortunately, it looks like most of this will come off with a razor blade. I'll take a wire wheel and clean the rest of it up. A lot of metallic shavings in here, but I think I found, hopefully, the source of my whine, and that is, there's a dent in the pan, and I think the ring gear was rubbing on that. Hopefully that's our problem, because it's definitely noisy. I really don't want to have to pull this diff out of here and rebuild it. A couple of taps with the hammer, it is better. People like to bash these things over rocks. You can see the scratches and stuff in there. So hopefully that helps. I'm going to give it a little more. It doesn't take much of a dent either, because this is where all your fluid sits, and that's what that ring gear rides in to pick up the oil. So just kind of eyeballing it here. Hopefully that's enough. Now the point is to try to get this as clean as possible on the inside. If you don't have access to a compressor and air tools like I do, you can use electric powered grinder or even sandpaper. It might take you a little longer, but I blew this out with brake clean and then blew it out with air just to try to get it as best as I could. Now we'll go ahead and throw a little of this RTV on there. Boy, I got the small little tube thinking that would be plenty, but it's like barely enough here. And you'll notice I went on the inside of the holes. Obviously, you don't really need to go around the outside. This will squish and kind of do its thing. If it makes you feel better, you can go around the outside, but it's not really necessary. Kind of smear this out, make sure it's covered everywhere we need it. And of course, as we put it on the cart, it's gonna get everywhere it needs to go. Don't want to wait too long once you put that gasket maker on there, because it will start to set up, and I forgot to clean all the old residue off, but I think we're good now. So, and then just kind of eyeball it and throw her back in. Not really rocket science. Just gonna go ahead and tighten 2 of these down. That way it'll stay, and then I can put the rest of them in. Now, as convenient as it would be to fill this while it's up in the air, unfortunately, can't do that because it would more than likely be over full because of the angle of the cart. So we got to get it back down on a level surface before we fill it. So it's going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze under here, but we'll manage. I'm old-fashioned. I like to go back through and snug everything by hand. Just never know what kind of output you're getting on your cordless tools. And these are probably supposed to be torqued, but click, click, there. Click, click, torqued. Did you hear it? Okay. Now, we'll drop it down and fill it up. Alright, this is where it's going to get interesting. Pretty low to the ground. I think it calls for something like 10 or 12 ounces, which doesn't seem like enough, but basically you just fill it until it starts running back out the same hole. plug ready. I like to pump a little bit and then leave it settle. This quart wasn't full, but it's definitely taken quite a bit, which actually makes me feel better. Alright, there she's running back out. I think. Give it a little more just to be safe. Yep. Alright. Mission accomplished. See, you were fretting that job and it's really not all that hard. I'm Jeff. We'll see you next time.